Cherry. Welcome to my channel. I am back doing 2 more projects with the collaboration box that I did with Didi Beads, and it's really good this month. It started out to be a pink and orange collection of beads, and Stella, the founder and designer at Didi Beads, had the idea of adding in some turquoise, and as she always does, really unique shaped beads. And there were a couple of really special items in the box. This elephant that is e-coated and has the little flower cut out, and he is two-sided and he has that gorgeous brushed finish, so that was in the box. And so in my first video, and when I reveal what our collection is, I did this gorgeous necklace. And so you can see how wonderful the combination of orange and turquoise and fuchsia pink is. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning. And then, you know, we added in some check glass flowers to kind of keep our theme of exotic Africa going, because our little elephant had a flower cut out of his back. And if you guys know anything at all, one of my best friends in the world was born in Kenya. And Africa is quite famous for flower markets and outdoor markets. So we called the box Exotic Africa. So anyway, I'm going to set my first little project aside because I have designed 2 bracelets, and I would really love to get a pair of earrings, but I'll see what I have left over. So as always, I pull in some things from my stash. Over here, I have my little seed beads because I pretty much always pull those out when I'm going to do a project. And I have to say, it's really early in the morning. It's still dark outside. I'm sipping on my coffee. And I have also done a little bit of things ahead because they're really repetitive. So I have another bracelet that I did with one of the a couple of the check glass strands from Didi Beads. And these little sea sediment turquoise sticks that are center drilled, a couple of them were on the strand, and I quite love the idea of putting a head pin through them and creating like a little charm. So let me pull the necklace back in. That's exactly what I did. I just love the movement, and it just makes a very dimensional little section of the piece. So I really love that. It almost looks like some kind of a moving beaded bead, or, you know, like a bead in itself, but highly textural. And I just really love the look. And I had a lot of the sea sediment sticks left because we got a full strand in this box. Stella was really generous with those. So I'm going to do a similar thing here, but I opted to pull in some of the fuchsia pink just because when I laid out my bracelet pattern, I felt like I needed a little bit more pop of that rich pink in here. So I'm going to show you exactly what I did. A lot of times I'll use my 1-step looper to do a simple loop, but on these I'm using these brass head pins that are quite fine. They're just 22 gauge, these little ball head pins, and they just didn't really work so well in the 1-step looper. So I'm going to do my simple loops by hand, and all I did is thread on one of those fuchsia seed beads from my stash and one of the little stick beads, and then I'm just going to bend that head pin wire, need my round nose pliers, and this is going to look a little strange, almost as if I'm making a wire wrapped loop, because I'm going to put my round nose pliers right where that bend is and just fold that wire over, rotate those pliers out of my way, and bring that wire around, and then, you know, just kind of position it so that the loop is centered. And now I have a really good loop, so I'm going to take my cutters, and with the flush side right next to the stem of that loop, give it a snip, and so my loop is made. And then, you know, I have to come in and work hard and just make sure. But that's what I did to get the loops on all of these little components and get them ready for stringing. I'm going to be using my number 2 gold filled crimp tubes from Softflex company. I'm going to use them, I think, in both bracelets, so let me take a few out here. These are gold filled and they are high quality. It's really difficult to see on camera, but the wall of the tube is quite thick and it really plays nicely with the magical crimping plier, and that's what I'm going to be using. And then my stringing material on both bracelets is going to be this medium 49 strand all-purpose bead stringing wire, and it's the pink tourmaline color. So can you see that is also what I used on my first project, my necklace. So all these pieces that I'm creating are going to you know, be a set and be like, I lost the word, like a collection of jewelry. Okay, so I'm going to start by feeding on one of my crimp tubes, and I just have a ring. This is literally a link. It's a solid link, but it was cut away from a scrap of chain that I had in my stash. So any kind of a ring that you have can work for this. You could even use, if your jump ring is a nice thick gauge, you could even use a jump ring, but you just have to make sure the opening is closed. So I am going to just crimp this directly onto the ring. So crimp tube first, ring, make a loop and go back down through the crimp tube. And I'd want this to be kind of a little bit of a larger loop than I might normally do, just because I don't want any rigidity, and I don't want this ring to get stuck. I want it to move freely. And now I'm just going to fit that little tube into the very center of the well in the magical crimping plier, close it. It has pinched all the four corners. In theory, it would go in again, and then just go in the opposite direction and close it again. And now I'm just going to open and close the plier, go around and make that tube into a bead. Okay, so it looks like that. And now I can start my stringing. So what I decided that I would really like to do is have this little bundle of I don't know what to call these, charms, or but my little turquoise chips. Let's go with that. And I think I'm going to use the pink seed beads as the base. And I'm pretty sure that both of my cut end will fit through these seed beads. I always like to feed that cut end back down through a couple of beads if it's possible. So I'm just going to thread these on, just doing a seed bead, a little stick component, a seed bead, and I did an odd number. I did 7 of them. Okay, so I have my little section done, and now I'm going to start stringing. I may have to readjust this pattern as far as length, because I really wanted to use one of these cone end caps, but it may be adding a little bit too much length to my bracelet. So I'm going to quickly string this little pattern like that. I really love the look of that, but I may have to take this off and go for a smaller little gold embellishment there. So I also pulled in these beautiful gold-plated wavy disc spacers from my stash. I can link these below. I found these on Amazon, and they are so thin but textural, and I just have really enjoyed them. I have used them in quite a few projects since I found them. There was something similar from Didi Beads in the check strands that she sent me. They're really pretty. They just add a little something in between. Let me string this on and I'll pull it up to the camera so you can see. Isn't it cool? I just love the look of it. It's a little tiny thin like sheet of gold in between. It's really just a lovely addition. So pretty. Okay, I have a little length of chain just from my stash, and I'm going to attach my bracelet to the chain. Let me check my length. I'm also going to be using a gold-filled lobster clasp. I love these. They have this little turning mechanism, so for a bracelet they are wonderful because your bracelet never gets kinked up. I can also link those below. I think I'm also going to be using some gold-filled jump rings. I have all these different sizes. That was a collection, but this little set of lobster claw clasps, they're gold filled, and there were quite a few different sizes and shapes in the assortment, and I have replenished this in my stash, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. I really love these clasps. So that is going to get attached to my ring end, and then this is going to get attached to my chain end, and then I plan to add my little elephant maybe right here, and then this is just a little dangle that I made that will go on the end of the chain. And look at this, you guys. This is from an old Jesse James Beads bead mix, one of the little mini mixes, and I love that mix so much. I bought a couple of them, and mostly I bought it for this pink elephant. Isn't he adorable? And look at the color match to the beads in our box. It could not be better. So I just pulled him from my stash. I used a ball head pin because you have to kind of get in between his 4 little legs up to his tummy when you make your component, and just added in my colors and elements, and that's going to be the final drop on my bracelet. But let me check my length really quickly. I can check it with the ruler, but I usually find that that's going to be about 6.5 inches, which might actually be a little bit short for me. I generally like about a 7-inch bracelet. Yeah, I think I could actually add a couple of beads. So I was questioning what my pattern when I laid it out. I'm going to repeat the same thing right here. Just feed on a crimp tube, and I am going to add this directly to my chain. So through the chain, a loop, back through the crimp tube, and just get this down to the beads. And I want a nice loose loop here. Okay, let's see how I did with my length. You know, I think that I am going to need a little bit longer length of chain. Let me, before I do this crimp, let me grab a little bit more of this chain. Back to where I was. I feel like I just want the option of being able to adjust my length, and I do love this style of bracelet where you finish off your length with a chain with large enough loops in it that you can have adjustability. And so this little clasp can fit in any one of these lengths once I attach it. And I do my anklets this way as well, because then you have a little dangle on your anklet, but you can also wear it as a bracelet and have, you know, a little bit of drama. So I really like this style. And before I commit to my crimp, let me just try it on. Yeah, I think that's going to be perfect. Okay. And I do not want this to be rigid, so I'm just going to make sure everything is moving freely. And I'm going to do the same thing on this. Use my magical crimping plier and make a bead right here. Okay. And now I can trim away the excess. And you guys, this Soft Flex 49 strand bead stringing material is so wonderful for making rings. So if you end up with little scraps like this, they are great for earrings, but that is all you need to make a ring with the magical crimping plier and a number 2 crimp tube. So do not throw your little scraps away if you have those. And I'm going to use some gold-filled diamond cut jump rings to do these attachments. I love this little set. The gauge of these is quite thick and sturdy, and there were like 4 different sizes in here, and so I think I'm going to use a larger one on my elephant to attach him, and then a smaller one on each, in between each of my other little components or dangles. Okay, let's put the clasp on first. I absolutely, you know, sometimes you find a supply that's just awesome. I've replenished this a few times in my supplies. These are really nice and sturdy. They are not flimsy at all. And the diamond cutting is so beautiful. It makes them sparkle, but also if you close it really well, it looks like a solid ring. It does not look like an open jump ring. So I might have to open this one a little bit wider for that ring. I'm going to add my little clasp right onto this ring. See, when you close it, you cannot tell. It's the diamond cutting and the thickness of it. So my one end of my bracelet is done, and I'm going to come to this end and add the 2 little charms that I made. They do have simple loops, but I am going to use the jump ring. I just like the movement, and I like the diamond cutting on these as well. And then my little elephant drop goes at the very end. Okay, now I just have to figure out where my elephant is going to dangle from. My other bracelet out of the way. And let's see, this elephant charm is 2-sided, so I have a little trick for connecting him so that no matter which way I put my bracelet on, he will hang beautifully. And I do think I want him right here, I think. So in order to have him go around freely 360 degrees, I am not going to put my jump ring through this loop, although you could. And sometimes after I wear a piece, I'll change my mind about that. He could also go through the Soft Flex loop there, but I'm going to put him around the whole circumference of my stringing material with this rather large jump ring. And I might even go down to the next size. Let me do it this way. This was my instinct, and close it really well and just kind of see how he moves. Because my idea is this way, no matter which way I put my bracelet on, he goes around 360 degrees, and he's rather chunky, so I wanted him to hang beneath you know, everything that I've done here. So let's see. Okay, let's see how he's going to do. Oh, so pretty. And then if he flips back on my wrist, I mean, this charm is so stunning, and it would make a beautiful pendant for a necklace. But when I really love something, I tend to put it on a bracelet so that I can really look at it and enjoy it. I just love him. oh my, no matter which way this bracelet turns, even my drop down here, it is just gorgeous. So I'm going to take this off and lay it on my mat so we can look at it, and we're going to do a second bracelet, and this one is going to be completely different but with the same beads. So I'm going to put this little guy here. Oh my goodness, he's so cute. Okay, so I'm going to use that same pink tourmaline soft flex material, this time 2 strands, and I am going to not crimp when I start off just because I want a few options for what I'm about to do. So I'm just going to put a clamp on the end. I just pulled some of these gorgeous little saucer beads. I just need 2. I need 1 for each end. So I just went shopping in my stash for that, and I'm going to feed both of these strands through the fuchsia tiger eye bead because I do know that they both fit from all the other projects that I've done. So I'm starting out like that, and then okay, this is option 1, and I do like that, but I was also thinking about doing using orange seed beads in the pattern too. So let me try option 2. For me, this is the most fun of jewelry making, is playing with bead patterns. And so when I get started on a design, there's usually a little bit of this on and off until I settle on what I'm going to do. So let me do option 2 and I'll show you my second idea. So that's the second option, is to alternate the tiger eye with the orange shell beads, and I really like that. I like getting all of the colors in because this is going to be a much smaller bracelet, a much thinner bracelet, so it could be stacked with this, or I could just wear this when I wear the necklace. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So let me just show you what I'm doing with the 2 strands. So on this strand here, I have the fuchsia bead, so I'm going to come to the opposite strand and put an orange shell bead and just slide that down. And then on this strand, I will do 4 of these turquoise beads, seed beads, and then bring these 2 together again and put one of those beautiful spacers. They're small. These, I think these were 5mm, but it's amazing. The hole is perfect for a design like this. And then I'm just going to like let that shell bead kind of nestle in between. And this is where the soft flex wire really is beautiful because it does show a little bit, but it becomes part of the design, that little bit of the pink peeking through. So before I crimp, I will like make sure that all of these are laying the way that I want them and there's not, you know, weird space or unwanted gaps. But that is so pretty. I really love that. So I'm going to keep going and get my desired length. Okay, I have finished stringing my bracelet and I am thrilled with the way that it turned out. As I neared the end of my pattern, I was seeing what beads I had left over because I really wanted a pair of earrings that can go with this jewelry set, because now I have 2 bracelets and this gorgeous necklace and a pair of earrings. So I'm going to, I crimped one end and I've pulled out a little magnetic clasp to finish this off, but I'm just going to set this project aside and show you the earrings really quickly because, as I said, I wanted to save out enough beads, and I still have orange ones left. I still have spacers left, but I did use all of the tiger eye. I still have, there was a huge long strand in the box of the turquoise stick beads, but I just came up with a little dangling earring. I turned one of those center drilled stick beads into like a BRACELET, like a drop, because in my earring I just wanted to have all the elements and colors that are happening in the other pieces, and I put them on my interchangeable lever back ear wire, this chain that I opted to take one of the links that I used in the bracelet because I did have some extra ones, and it's also that E-coated brass, so it really goes with everything. It doesn't quite fit in my interchangeable lever back ear wire, but it rests in there like that, and I think it will be fine. I may decide to go add ear wires in later, but let me show you what I did really quickly on this earring. So you'll need a small piece of 22 gauge wire and a small piece of 20 gauge wire, and I will start with the little BRACELET way that I wrap a stick, or do a BRACELET wrap. I did kind of pick out two stick beads that were really similar, and I'm going to just put the 22 gauge wire through the hole and just draw it up, leaving one end really short and one end longer because I will need this end to work with to make the loop, the wraps, and the spiral. And then I'm just going to use my pliers to mold the wire into kind of framing the top of the bead. So it just, so that it kind of, you see, it kind of fits in there. These are freeform chips, and so they're not like a perfect stick, so just do your best if you're going to try this. And I'm just going to bend this one a little bit out of the way just so that I can see. And then I'm going to kind of pretend that this one is not even there. In fact, I can even trim it away. I'm going to just come and just kind of get rid of that little tail so it's completely out of my way. And what's going to happen is I'm going to wrap this right in with this wire so it will never be seen again, and it will be nice and secure. So now this is just like almost like a regular wire wrapped loop. Just grab the wire right at that little bend, right at that little intersection, make a 90-degree bend, and then put your round nose pliers in there. Let me see about the size that I did on this one. The first earring is so easy, and the second one you have to concern yourself with remembering all the little steps that you did. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this wire over the top of my pliers, rotate and bring it around, and just get it centered. I want it to look like the other one. And then I'm just going to wrap down really neat wraps. And if you like the look of messy wraps, you could totally do that here. But I'm going to wrap this down, encase this other wire in with my wraps. And I want to kind of create, as you see, almost like a little bit of a cone bead cap on top of the stick bead. Just go slowly. So I'm just encompassing. Let me just tighten up that last little wrap. Like I say, if you want to do it messy, then you won't have to take such care as I am. But I want this to be right over the top of my stick bead when I start wrapping. And it's just really to hold it in place because I didn't want it to keep flipping around that way. I want it to stay facing forward. And it's going to come around to the back. And so I'm starting to reach the top of the bead a little bit. Okay, and then right about there, let's see how I did. Right about there, I am going to make a little swirl with what's left over of that wire. And I'm just going to get a hold of the tail of that wire. Whoops, slipped off. Just make a really tiny little loop and then just spiral it right down to the stick. Little gentle increments. It's 22 gauge wires, so you can actually like put it in place with your thumb, just kind of a press. Let's see if I can make it a little flatter with my nylon jaw pliers. Just get that spiral nice and flat to the turquoise bead. Okay, so I made a little second little drop, and now I am going to take my one-step looper and put a simple loop in one end and just get it warmed and straightened. Make sure I'm starting with a nice straight piece of wire, and I am just going to repeat this little stack that I did on the first earring. And I can even go ahead and put, I did that on the other one, go ahead and open this loop before I do the stack and just add that little drop and then stack the other beads. Okay, and the only trick to this is my next loop after my stack will need to go in the other direction, but I'm just going to repeat exactly what I did on the other earring. A fuchsia tiger eye, a wavy disc spacer, a little orange shell bead. So I have to cut the end. It's a little bit bent so it won't go through. The shell beads are, you know, they're kind of like pearls. They have inconsistent hole sizes, but they're a pretty small hole. Okay, and then one of those beautiful little flying saucers spacers, and I just topped it off with one of the pink seed beads that I used in the bracelet. And now I need this loop to be going the opposite direction of the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing, just feed it through and make sure I'm not putting stress on my beads. Make that loop, bend it back so the beads are not in the way, and now I am going to just tidy this up. Actually, I think my jump ring is closed so well, I'll open this. These gold-filled jump rings are so beautiful. Feed my jump ring on and close that diamond cut jump ring really well, and then the ring just becomes solid. Visually it just becomes solid. They're just so nice. Put my plier on the inside, and my second earring is done, and I did see that I needed to adjust a loop on this one. Okay, my adorable little earrings just to complete the set are done. And like I said, I may go back and add some interchangeable, some not interchangeable ear wires to this. And you guys, I have dyslexia, so you will see me sometimes struggling with that until I can actually see the right way. Like I'm trying to put this on so that it's facing forward, and it just wreaks havoc with certain things. with me, and one of those things is jump rings. And so I have gotten so many comments. I am going to need to make some jump rings for this. I have gotten so many comments because I always show this 6-step veil making plier, and then I show my favorite one that I really like, and I always say, well, I can just keep going and wrap as many jump rings as I want because of the long mandrel. I just really like the handle on this, but you can do the same thing with this one, and I do realize that, and I have to be careful what I say. You know, I rarely say that I'm giving a tutorial because mostly I think I don't know anything, but because of the dyslexia, if you don't put the wire in here just properly, you will be rolling in the opposite direction where you can't just keep going with your jump rings, but you can do it with this, and I do realize that. And I'm going to use this second mandrel and make a couple of jump rings for this class. But if you put your wire in there and you start wrapping, if you wrap toward the handle, so if you make sure that your coils are going toward the mandrel, and this time I did it with no problems, but if you see that I am coiling toward my right hand, then I can keep going and just let the rings that I have already coiled just go off the end of the tool. So I always say that I like the other one because I can just keep going, and for me it's just a matter of constantly managing the dyslexia. Now this time I put the wire in just fine, and there it goes, all those jump rings, and I can use that whole length of wire, and it's just going to go off the end. And I realize that everybody's trying to help, and they think that I'm struggling with the pliers. It's really not that. I like the other one better because I don't have to worry about which direction I start coiling, because it's just something that I struggle with. And when I'm doing a project, I'm mostly just sharing with you the way that I do it. There are so many ways to accomplish the same thing, and I by no means think that my way is the best way. It's just that after decades of making jewelry, I have habits. I've collected tools. I'm a jewelry toolaholic, and it's when I'm filming, I'm like trying to explain what I'm doing, keep checking the camera, the lighting, the battery, all of that, managing the noise in the house. And so I tend to, I just have to be careful what I say, because I don't want you to think that there's only one way to do that, or that you have to have certain tools. I mean, I just have the ones that I like because of so many years of collecting tools, and I've changed them out a little bit. Like when I found that veil making plier with the really long mandrel, I just loved it, and I just thought it was better for the common sizes of jump rings that I made, so I just wanted to say that. But I thank you guys for your messages, and it's really sweet that everybody seemed to want to help me with the jump ring situation. But anyway, it's just how I do it, and I'll just be careful that when I'm explaining, I'll try to be more careful that I don't sound so matter of fact as if that's the only way to do something. Okay, so I have my jump rings made for my little clasp, and I am just going to crimp the end of this bracelet, and the same way that we have done on all of our other projects here, I'm going to feed the crimp tube on. When I was pulling the beads out to make the earrings, I did kind of take a moment to make sure that everything was really where I want it, and then I'm going to take and make a loop and go back down through the crimp tube, and it just goes nicely through those little crystal beads that I added in, and through the wavy spacer and the cone cap, and there it is. It's coming out right there. So that's really nice. I love when I can feed my wire down through a few beads and trim it away where you don't see it. Just gonna kind of make that loop match this loop, and if you notice, I'm leaving this one hang out. It's going to get trimmed away. Let me just have a look at my loop. Just pull it a tiny bit more, and I just want to make sure one more time before I crimp that everything is where I want it and that my bracelet will work. So same thing again. Okay, I'm ready to trim away, and I have some little wires here that are ready for a ring project. And we can add the clasp. Look at this beautiful bracelet. Oh my goodness. I love this so much. It is such a beautiful layering bracelet with the other one, and I think I am actually going to opt not to put any dangles on this one. It is just so pretty, just as it almost looks like one of the Taylor Swift friendship bracelets, but you know, like another version of it. So I am so thrilled to have been working with Stella of Didi Beads again. Let me clean up my mat a little bit. I have this left over, and I still have almost a whole strand of the turquoise stick beads left over. So there is at least another bracelet project or a few more pairs of earrings. But it was just so wonderful to be working with Stella again. Together we just have so much fun, and I feel like we come up with unique, really beautiful color combinations, and she's so talented at finding great beads with unusual shapes. So this is my gorgeous jewelry set from the Exotic Africa box that Stella and I did together again this month, and I think we're going to keep doing these boxes. You know, we have started talking about another one. It's in the beginning of production stages, but check the description box of the video, because I will put links to Didi Beads and links to any of my tools or any of my supplies that I've used that I think you might be interested in for your convenience. And I thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. Ciao, jewelry making friends.